here's Brody Brazil.
First off, I have no idea what Justin Turner was thinking or doing out there on the field following the World Series win. But let me start off by saying this. On Tuesday night, the most interesting Major League Baseball season ever came to a most interesting conclusion in Arlington, Texas. And let me also get these declarations out of the way, things I need to say about this season in general. There were some positive cases. There were some outbreaks within teams across Major League Baseball. There were 43 games that were postponed. But I do find it impressive. I am thankful for the fact that, as far as we understand, nobody's life was ever put in jeopardy. That was a real concern. That was a real possibility on how Major League Baseball and their players and their people would handle playing through a pandemic. And I've got to say full credit to the dedication, to the discipline of everybody who kept the cases and the outbreaks at a minimum. Again, there were some mistakes, there were some slip-ups, but you have to say that getting through it as they did was probably better than a lot of people expected. And in terms of the legitimacy of the World Series, look, the top two teams with the best records of the, 60-game regular season, I know, was not 162, but the two best record teams ended up in the World Series between Tampa and Los Angeles. What more can you say against that? And in this matchup between the Rays and Dodgers, I really did not have a rooting interest. I mean, on the Tampa side, I can relate being a part of the coverage of Oakland A's baseball. They're very similar, a lower payroll, maybe lesser known household names, a franchise that is desperately trying to get a new ballpark to secure their future in their current location, their current town. But on the flip side, I wouldn't be mad with the Dodgers winning. It had been a long time, like since 1988. Yeah, I didn't want to talk about that. Still a little bit sore off that World Series loss. And I also understand that they're a team with the second highest payroll in all of Major League Baseball. A lot of people don't like that. They think you're buying your players. They think you're buying your victories. But we all know in the end, championships cannot be bought. We've seen it happen time and time again. Money doesn't guarantee you the title. It might help your odds to getting there, but in terms of getting it done, that's a totally different, literal ballgame. Also this, I talked about they hadn't won since 88. The Dodgers might have gotten, cheated out of a World Series in 2017 at the hands of the Houston Astros. So maybe karma playing into it. I'm not mad at the Dodgers winning at all. I had no real rooting interest in this World Series. But I want to talk about how Game 6 unfolded, specifically relating to Justin Turner. We didn't know it at the time. We didn't know it in real time. But seeing it all after the fact and understanding the timeline, it paints an interesting picture. Apparently, there was an inconclusive test that came back to the team and Major League Baseball around the second inning. And so they quickly ran it again at the Major League Baseball lab in Utah. And by about the sixth or seventh inning, the positive test came back. Quickly through the chain of command, Turner was removed from the game and was isolated. That is exactly what you would expect. Now, the Dodgers go on to win this game. There was some controversy about a pitching change in the game itself. I won't really get into that. Mookie Betts hit the insurance home run late to secure a Dodger victory. And all this time, I really felt bad for Justin Turner. I was, not knowing, first off, that he was removed from the game because of this positive test. We learned that within 5 minutes of the finish of this game. But when you put it all together and understand that, you feel bad for a key player, an everyday third baseman, a member of this team for several seasons, a cornerstone, and this is the biggest moment of his life thus far. And not only does he have to be concerned with getting sick and his health immediately and the scare of a positive test, but also the fact that he can't celebrate this moment while literally everybody else on the team is out there on the field enjoying it like no other. I felt really bad. My next thought was, how did this even happen? And you really have to put into perspective, Major League Baseball's playoff bubble was a lot different than what the NBA was doing and what the NHL was doing. Those were hard bubbles. Those were impenetrable Is that the right word? You were really going to have a hard time feeling unsafe in those situations because it was no in, no out. You were literally secluded to the highest standards. In Major League Baseball's case, it was more of like a soft bubble. Yeah, they took a lot more precautions when the playoffs hit, but it wasn't airtight like the NHL and NBA was doing it. And by the way, we're not just starting the World Series. We're not starting a new series. This was 6 games in. This was about a week into the World Series, the most, coveted and protected event for Major League Baseball, where you would think the standards were at their very, very highest. So how did he even contract this? And even more, when you put everybody in that tight bubble, and then one person gets sick, you have a lot more to worry about because the guard of everybody was taking a step down internally. You feel safe. You're in the bubble, right? Apparently not. This was also, like I said, everybody feeling good. This was also the first positive test across baseball in about 6 weeks. So maybe a little bit of complacency and understanding you're in the bubble, everybody letting their guard down and feeling a lot more safe than they actually were. But all of my thoughts and feeling bad for Justin Turner and the moment, it quickly changed. It quickly evolved to, what the heck are you doing out there on the field right now? On the field, celebrating with his teammates. Apparently, we're learning after the fact that he was asked to stay away. He didn't. He sent out a tweet on social media saying, hey, I'm feeling good, asymptomatic. Thanks for the thoughts. And then boom, a couple minutes later, he's being broadcast live on national television. On the field, which is a question, kissing his wife, I'm going to not even approach that one because that's their decision. And in reality, if he was already sick and the test was even from the day before, large chances it was too late anyway. Again, also seen hugging teammates. How many of them actually knew the situation? Did they all know for sure that this man just tested positive? You would think in this situation, again, everybody's less vulnerable because we're in the bubble, nobody's tested positive. Did everybody know? I don't know. You don't know. We'll never know the truth. He was also part of a team photo with the mask off, sitting right next to Dave Roberts. That's my next point here. A high-risk individual like the manager Dave Roberts, a cancer survivor, was also in close proximity to Kenley Jansen, who also had COVID-19 over the summer, who also has had heart problems in his past. Another high-risk individual. And you could tell me that these were adults making adult decisions. Again, I'm going to point out I'm not sure everybody knew, but I'm also going to tell you this. Did you see who else was out there on the field in the celebration? Wives, children, parents, grandparents. Did they all know? Did word spread appropriately? It's really rough to look at those visuals and the optics in retrospect and feel good about any of that. So we get back to this. What was Justin Turner doing? What was he thinking out there? I'm not going to speak for him, but clearly he made an impulse decision. He was not intoxicated. I'm not saying that. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not even inferring that. I'm just saying that he was drunk on emotions. He just won the World Series. It was one of the toughest seasons that any player has ever been through. You want to celebrate, you want to let off steam. That's the natural part I do understand of all this. I've seen it happen. I can relate to it. I totally get it. But he was drunk and he was allowed to make a really bad decision. Somebody couldn't stop him. And again, when I say drunk on emotion. In retrospect, it was reckless. It was selfish. Would you put yourself in that situation around him? Would you feel like he might be imposing on your team celebration of everybody who was following rules and procedures and then just kind of jumps in the pool with you? Again, these were his teammates. They love him. There's no question about that. There's a brotherhood. There's a bond that cannot be broken in that way. But this is not about sports. This is about a step further, about life and everybody else that was on that field. And quite honestly, I don't really worry about all the rest of the players on the field. I mean, I do, but I worry more about their families and anybody else who was knowingly or unknowingly at a higher risk. So look, we don't know the outcome of this. I don't know how much more information we'll actually find out. The season's over. Players are going to go their separate ways. Probably not going to talk a lot about this. I certainly hope there was no spread. I hope it was contained. But at the very least, the conclusion of all this is you took a successful Major League Baseball season. You took a World Series win. You took history. You took a celebration. You took all those, collective elements of collective achievements and group contributions. You took all that, and not on purpose, unintentionally, you made this story now, and what everybody's talking about and what's trending on social media, it's now about Justin Turner's actions. It's unfortunate, but I guess it's kind of fitting for the end of the 2020 Major League Baseball season.